Hey everybody, welcome back. And now that we have our joints placed and our mesh skin, what we're ready to go ahead and do here is paint our weights. So we're going to go ahead here and just take some time and be pretty generous and go ahead and actually paint our weights here. So let's go ahead and get started. We just need to go ahead and turn our clowny fish module here off the reference layer. And we'll just start selecting some joints, rotating them a little bit, and we'll paint our weights. Let's go ahead and select our side fin here, our left side fin. Okay, we're going to go ahead and rotate this as extreme that we can, an extreme that I'm thinking that an animator would be animating this. Just go ahead here and select our mesh, and under our animation shelf here, we'll just double click the paint skin weights icon. Just double click it so that we get all the setting information here. Okay, go ahead and scroll down a little bit, and we'll make sure that we go for the replace, just making sure that we take the JTL side fin 1, and we'll just begin here by taking some of this weighting information off the body, and we'll just work slowly here. Just being careful to what exactly we do paint. Okay. And you can see that this just take a little bit of time to go ahead and paint all this weighting information in. And this is just the method I like to use. I'll go from one fin to the other fin, and I'll actually paint both sides here. And that's just my method, because this is just such a this is a smaller mesh. This isn't necessarily a really complicated mesh, so it's just going to make it easier for me to paint on both sides. You can always go ahead and mirror those weights over, but on meshes like this I tend to like to paint both sides. Okay, and I'm just trying to make sure I grab all the weighting information on one joint before I actually move on to the next joint here. It just takes a little bit of practice, that's all. A little bit of patience as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and select our joint and see what else is moving here. Obviously we still have some of the body here to adjust, and that's okay. So we'll just continue here and just work our way through. And to get the smooth there, I'm just holding down the shift button to smooth out that weight. Okay, so we'll go ahead here and select the joint and see if anything is still moving. Let me take a look here at the opposite side. Yep, so I still have to paint a little bit because I can see the weighting information here that's moving. So make sure we go ahead and remove all that weighting information as well. And this is just more of a time-consuming effort rather than anything else. And making sure that you just have a good eyeball for, you know, exactly what's going on. And it's just mainly a really tedious effort. Yes, it gets a little bit to be a pain in the butt, but that's okay. No real major problems. Okay, it doesn't look like anything is moving there. Let's take a look here. So it looks like there's a little bit of paint information here, so we need to make sure that we get this as well. Making sure that we definitely take it off the eyes, because when our head rotates, we don't want the fin to be affecting our eye. Oops, and I'm going to need to add a little bit of weight there because I think I might have touched it a little bit on the fin. That's okay, no big deal. So let's come in here and take a look now. And it looks like it might be on the top fin there as well. Okay, let's go ahead and see if this takes all that weighting information out. Yeah, it looks pretty good there. And it's looking pretty good there, so we can go ahead and reset that all those rotate channels back to 0. We'll go ahead here and do our bottom fin. And you can really see where the problematic issues here are on the mesh. So we'll go ahead and select our mesh, grab our paint tool, take our left bottom fin 1, and we'll just start pulling some of that information off. Just being careful that I don't select too far into the mesh, and making sure that I actually don't select some of the fin there, so I might have to turn my brush down a little bit. And to do that, I'm just holding B and left clicking and dragging to make it larger and to make it smaller. Okay, so let's see what's getting affected here. And there's definitely, let me go ahead and zoom in here, definitely some weighting information actually on the left side fin, so we need to make sure that we take that information off as well. Okay, let's see if that was taken off. Okay, you can see it's moving here as well, so we'll have to take that off. Okay, let's go ahead and select our mesh again. Just making sure that we do this, you know, and take our time doing this, because we want to be as perfect as we can here. We want to make sure that we do our job right here, because we don't want to have to come back later on in the process and having to fix all these issues or fix any issues at all. We just want to make sure that we do it right the first time. So I think I want to throw a little bit of weight here actually on the top of this fin. See if that'll flatten out there. You can probably even paint here at 0.2 just to make it a little bit easier to get that weighting information on. And I'm just trying to make sure that I paint the actual fin and not anything else on the mesh, because if you're painting through your mesh, then you're sort of being counterintuitive. So you just want to be mindful of that. And like I said, this will just take a little bit of time to really go ahead and get right. Okay, let's go ahead and select this and see what's all moving here. And I can see that it looks like there's actually a little bit. Let me go ahead and zoom in here on the top of that fin, and that's okay. I can go ahead and paint that out here real quick. Just make sure that we select the replace, set it at 0, we'll go ahead and pull that weighting information off here. Okay, let's see if that actually worked right. Okay, and I think it might still actually be moving a little bit there. Now it looks like it's moving here in the back. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just paint that off as well. Okay, so nothing looks like it's moving there on this side. Let's take a look here on this side. No, I think we're okay. Let's make sure to take a look at the tail. Okay, and I'm looking in between this area just to make sure that nothing's moving. Okay, so that all looks good. We'll go ahead here and do our other side. But you should be noted that if you do select your mesh and you want to go ahead and mirror your skin weights, you just come up here to the skin, edit smooth skin, mirror skin weights, go into the option box. I'm going to mirror it in the YZ axis and just make sure that the associations here are 1-to-1 because we were using the same naming convention from left side to right side. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and actually paint here for the right side as well. But that's how you would actually mirror your weights. So we'll go ahead and just rotate this as well. Select our mesh. We'll come in here with our right side one. Turn my brush up a little bit and we'll just repeat the same process here. And a really simple way of also going ahead and doing this is we'll just go ahead and turn that off. Go ahead and turn off our joints real quick. We'll go back into our mesh. Select our vertices. Jump into my front window here. Okay. Actually have to turn the joints off in this window as well. And we'll go in and just select all those vertices on the left side here, and we're going to jump into the component editor. Take a look for our smooth skins, and we want to take a look for our JT side fin 1. So we'll select this one, come all the way down, shift select the 0 there, hit 0 and hit enter. So it takes all that weighting information off of this side that's being influenced here. And you can see that that would be a very quick way of doing that and painting your weights and really trimming your weights. But I tend to like to do a lot of stuff manually, and this is only because that allows me to really control exactly what I'm doing. But that's just an easy way of really trimming out your weights if you really find it necessary to do so. And I'm just rotating around the mesh here to make sure that I get all that weighting information as best that I can. Definitely take more than one pass to go ahead and paint your weights, because you really don't want to make sure that you really want to make sure that you don't have any errors, and you really want to make sure that you don't have any major problems, because if you have a major problem and you don't actually get it in the first time, you're going to have to go back and fix it, and you really don't want to have to go back and fix it. Just make sure that you take your time to do everything right the first time around. Just easier that way. I do apologize too if those mouse clicks are a little bit irritating, but the microphone tends to pick up almost every sound, so I wish I could actually play some music here for you guys. It should be noted too that usually when I'm doing this and not actually recording video tutorials, I'm actually listening to music, because this process can get, I'll be the first one to say it, this process can get a little bit boring, and can get a little bit mind-numbing, but it's just easier if I find it easier if I listen to music or something to pass the time. Make it a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah, I love art, but sometimes this process can get a little bit mind-numbing. Let's go ahead here and maybe try and smooth out the weights on the inside portion of the fin here. Let's take a look and see if we're missing any weight information here. And I'm really looking inside or on the body here. I'm also looking at the eye, the front part of the mesh as well, the top here. It doesn't look like anything is moving on the right side of the mesh here. Let's take a look at the left. And nothing's moving on the left because we took and ran through that component editor, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, so this all looks fairly good, and I think maybe we can probably see, that might actually be good on our first pass for our right fin there. Maybe a little bit here, but I can't really tell. Yeah, I think a little bit too much here for the body, so we just have to pull a little bit more off here. Okay. And that's actually really good for our first pass on the right fin. Let's take a look. Yep, we got all that off, so we can go ahead and rotate that all back to 0 here. Go ahead and paint our bottom right fin here, and then we'll call it an end for this lesson. And then we'll go ahead and come back and paint the weights for the body, because that'll take a pretty good amount of time, because even though the joint chain isn't necessarily that complicated and doesn't really have, say 1,000 joints in it, there's still a good amount of joints that we're really going to have to refine how the body is going to be manipulated. So let's go ahead and select our mesh, and we'll start painting for our right fin here, right bottom fin. Can always do the same thing here and just basically pull all the weighting information off of what would be the right side here, or the left side, I'm sorry. If we want to jump back into the component editor. But you can see in about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, that we've really gone ahead and done some really great weight painting information here for our fins. And I am going to have to take that one to make sure that I paint all that off there. looked like it was really getting affected pretty bad on the left side there. And I'm just slowly working my way around the mesh here, making sure that I get as much of the weighting information as I can on the first pass for what I'm doing. Make sure I have to go in here and see if anything is actually getting affected on the inside portion of the mouth here, because I don't want that to happen, and that does tend to happen simply because of the way that we skinned our mesh, and that's okay. That's not really a big deal, as long as you're willing to go in and, you know, take the time to paint the weights. You're not going to have much of a problem or an issue anywhere. But it is, you know, much easier, like I said, if you actually go ahead and rotate those joints, because then you can really see where the weighting information is, and it just makes it so much easier to pull the weighting information off or add weighting information, because then you're really going to see exactly what's going to happen for the animator. And it's easier to do it this way rather than say once you add your control objects, because with those control objects you're manipulating joints, but you're not actually manipulating the joint at the joint level. You're more or less just manipulating it through the control object, so you don't know exactly what joints are getting affected, and it just makes it easier to paint your weights with just your joints on in the mesh and skin to the mesh. Okay, so let's go ahead here and select our joint here and see what all is moving. Okay, so I can tell you right away we have to go ahead and adjust here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead here and just jump into my front window, go ahead and turn my joints back off, select the vertices again here, just making sure that I select the left side rather than anything on the right side. We'll come in here to Window, General Editors, our Component Editor, go ahead and just pull this up here, Smooth Skins. We're going to take our JT right bottom one and our JT bottom end. So we select both of these, and we'll just shift select, go all the way down, select it, hit 0, hit enter, and there it pulls all that information off. Okay. Just making sure that I did that. We can go ahead here and turn our joints back on, jump back into our perspective view, go back into object mode, select our joint, just making sure that now you can really see where nothing is getting affected on that left side. So we're, you know, basically in the right, going in the right direction here. Just need to make sure that we take some of the more weighting information off here. Looks like there might actually be some more here on the body, so go ahead and just continue to paint here. Okay, let's take a look at how this is going and turning. And you can see it right here, so I have to pull that weighting information off as well. looks like that's off. And I want to go ahead here and add a couple weights. So we'll just select add, do it at 0.1. Just paint some information here. And I'm only painting the tip of this fin. I'm not really painting. Well, I'm trying not to paint anything, you know, too far down the fin, because I don't want the base to be, you know, obviously affecting out here, but I do want out here to affect at least a little bit, not much. Go ahead and smooth that out. Okay, let's go ahead and select this. Okay, so I think that that is looking really good. So we can go ahead and set that back to 0, those rotate channels. And we'll go ahead and call it an end for this lesson. Then in the next lesson, we'll go ahead and come back and we'll paint our body weights. So come on back, everybody.